It's been 12 months since you gave Republican influencers part one of the Epstein files. You said the list was on your desk. Then a memo came out and said that there was no list. Phase 2 of the binders never happened.
On February 12, 2026, Congressman Jared Moskowitz of Florida had 5 minutes with Attorney General Pam Bondi. He spent the first 30 seconds thanking her. He had a real reason to. When he was a state legislator after the Parkland shooting, her office worked with him on school safety legislation. And when a constituent threatened his life, her department prosecuted the case. Then he said, however, what followed was not a question. It was a timeline. 5 minutes of documented facts about what this administration said it would do with the Epstein files and what it actually did.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Attorney General Bondi.
Good afternoon.
Oh, you're right. Good afternoon. It's been a long day. I wrote this morning. We've known each other a long time, and I'll always be appreciative for your assistance when you were Attorney General in Florida after the shooting at my high school at Marjory Stoneman Douglas in my hometown of Parkland when we passed a bipartisan bill, the Marjory Stoneman Douglas School Safety Act, which was the largest policy response to a school shooting in American history. Your department also prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law a constituent of mine and former felon that had plans to kill me when he was picked up by law enforcement after he was target practicing in his backyard with 2 rifles, a scope, a silencer, 3,000 rounds of ammunition, an anti-Semitic manifesto. My name was the only name on their target list, and my kids found out about this from their friends at school. So thank you. However, the most transparent administration in American history. Before Trump, we didn't know the word transparency, apparently. It's been 12 months since you gave Republican influencers part one of the Epstein files. You said the list was on your desk. Then a memo came out and said that there was no list. Phase 2 of the binders never happened. The President of the United States says the Epstein thing is a hoax. He blasts his own base for wanting the release of the files. He blamed Barack Obama. Republicans voted against the release of the files in the Rules Committee. Then they refused to even return to the Rules Committee until they could be protected from future votes on the release. Speaker Johnson sends Congress home a day early before break. They sent the Deputy Attorney General to meet with Maxwell. She says something favorable about the president. Miraculously, she gets transferred to a minimum security facility. No one can explain why. Miraculously, the leaks to the Wall Street Journal stop. We come back from break. We have the Massey discharge petition. Republicans drop a rule, a non-binding resolution trying to kill the Massey discharge petition. The White House says passing the Massey discharge petition is a hostile act. Trying to stop the necessary 218 signatures, according to Republican members that signed it, the White House brought them into the Situation Room, you know, the place where the president goes for time of war, promising things like appropriations or maybe even to primary them. People in the room say you were there. It didn't work. We get the 218 signatures. We eventually passed the Massey petition. You guys didn't release the files. You were forced by Congress, every member of the House except one, and the entire Senate. The reason the president signed it is because it was a veto-proof majority. We can't agree on anything, and yet the entire House but one member and the whole Senate forced the administration to release the files. Kash Patel under oath said to Senator Kennedy, the FBI is not in possession of any credible evidence that Epstein trafficked girls to anyone but himself. We know now that's not true. According to documents, Epstein had a worldwide sex trafficking ring. Girls from Poland, Czechoslovakia, Russia, Paris, modeling agencies sending him girls. He even had a relationship with a summer camp where he groomed girls at a picnic table. Ghislaine Maxwell says 29 Epstein associates cut secret DOJ deals. Turns out there is a list. 6 names readily available if you unredact them. Co-conspirators named, but we got them when you unredact them. Maxwell recently tells a House Oversight Committee that she wants clemency to release more names. Kash Patel under oath said Trump's name appears less than 100 times in the files. We now know that's not true. Trump's name appears more times in the Epstein files than God's name appears in the book about God. Okay, by the way, this is the Trump Bible. Move over, King James. Trump's name also appears more times in the Epstein file than Harry Potter's name appears in the 7 books about Harry Potter. Lutnick says that in 2008, he went to Epstein's home, says he had a massage table in the living room, that Epstein said he got one every day, that it was the right type of massage. He and his wife decide to leave and say they'll never be in a room with him again. Howard then says, I'm sure the Epstein stuff is all on video. He was the greatest blackmailer of all time. Well, how would Howard know that? But now the files are public, and in 2012, we find out that he and his family are on Epstein Island after Epstein pled guilty to state charges. I'm from Florida. I take my family to Disney World, not to Epstein Island. There are documents in the files that dispute the president's claim that he kicked Epstein out of his club. Allegedly, the president said that he asked Epstein to leave. Supported now, that's disputed, though, statements from the manager of the club. Now, Madam Attorney General, I have like 25 seconds left. So because I'm curious, and I'd like to see, flip to the Jared Moskowitz section of the binder. I'm interested to see what staff provided on the oppo on me, and because we're in the Olympics, I'm going to give it a grade. I just want to see how good it is. So give me your best one.
So first of all, nothing is funny about mocking the Bible and holding up a Trump Bible. That's what you did. You made a joke, and I find offense to that. That's all I have to say.
I want it from the burn book.
Shame.
I want it from the burn book. Which is the best one? What you got?
Has expired. The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
Thank you.
Let's go through what Moskowitz just laid out, because each item on that list is a specific verifiable claim. 12 months ago, Bondi went on Fox News and said the Epstein client list was sitting on her desk right now to review. That was a direct quote. She said it on camera. Then a DOJ memo came out saying there was no incriminating client list. Phase 2 of the Epstein binders, which was supposed to include additional materials, never happened. The President of the United States called the Epstein files a hoax, not a foreign adversary saying that. The President who signed the bill requiring their release. He also blamed Barack Obama, as if a sex trafficking operation that ran for decades with dozens of powerful men involved was somehow a problem created by one administration. Republicans voted against releasing the files in the Rules Committee. Then they refused to return to the Rules Committee until they had assurances they would be protected from future votes on the same issue. Speaker Johnson sent Congress home a day early before a scheduled break, the same week the discharge petition was gaining momentum. The Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, who was also Donald Trump's former personal defense attorney, conducted a 2-day private interview with Ghislaine Maxwell. Days after that interview, Maxwell was transferred to a minimum security facility. The Wall Street Journal had been running a series of damaging leaks about the Epstein files. After the Maxwell interview, the leaks stopped. The White House brought Republican members who had signed the Massey discharge petition into the Situation Room, not a meeting room, the Situation Room, where presidents go during national security crises. They offered appropriations. They reportedly threatened primaries. According to members who were in the room, Bondi was there. It didn't work. They got 218 signatures. They passed the petition. The administration still did not release the files voluntarily. Congress forced it. Every member of the House except one and the entire Senate. The president signed it only because it was a veto-proof majority. Then Moskowitz got to Kash Patel. The FBI director testified under oath to Senator Kennedy that the FBI was not in possession of any credible evidence that Epstein trafficked girls to anyone but himself. That statement has since been contradicted by the documents that were released. The files show a worldwide trafficking operation. Girls sent from modeling agencies in Poland, Czechoslovakia, Russia, France, a relationship with a summer camp, grooming at a picnic table. 29 associates who, according to Maxwell, cut secret deals with the DOJ. 6 co-conspirators whose names are available in unredacted documents that have not been released. Patel said less than 100 times. The actual number, according to the released documents, is in the thousands across more than 5,000 files. And then there's Howard Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce. Lutnick says he went to Epstein's home in 2008 after Epstein had already pled guilty to state charges of soliciting prostitution from a minor, saw a massage table in the living room, heard Epstein describe the right type of massage, and left with his wife saying they would never be in a room with him again. He also said, according to documents now public, that he was sure the Epstein material was all on video, that Epstein was the greatest blackmailer of all time. Moskowitz's question is simple. How would Lutnick know that? And the files show Lutnick and his family on Epstein Island in 2012, 4 years after that visit he described. Bondi's response to all of this was to criticize Moskowitz for holding up a Trump Bible as a visual reference. That is not a response to a timeline. It is a deflection from one. Moskowitz ended by asking Bondi to flip to the section of her binder with opposition research on him, the burn book she brought to the Senate hearing to attack members personally. He wanted to see what they had. He wanted to grade it. Bondi's answer was to call the Bible joke offensive. The list was on her desk. Then a memo came out and said there was no list. That was the beginning of the timeline. Subscribe and turn on notifications. The Hearing Files covers the record. This is the record. The list was on her desk. Then a memo came out and said there was no list. That was the beginning of the timeline.